What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Mike Dolce Show. We got a great interview here. Coach Andreas Michael, Khamzat Chimaev's head coach, discusses exactly what happened, what went wrong behind the scenes of Khamzat's weight cut debacle. And I am going to share my thoughts, my insights, my opinion, my comments, my experience, my education to this interview he did for ESPN with Brett Okamoto. So thank you, ESPN and Brett, for allowing us to share this for commentary and editorial purposes. Let's get straight into it. First, check the links below: MarekHealth.com/Dolce, Casandrinos.com/Dolce, and Piedmontese.com, promo code Dolce. Also, the Dolce Diet 12-week total body transformation program and one-on-one coaching in the links below. Let's get straight into this interview right now.
So I'm not condoning it. I'm not agreeing with it. I know that like half the battle is making weight and the other half is winning the fight. And we didn't make the first half, but
so that being said, and I agree with Coach, and I'm not beating up Coach Andreas Michael. He was in a shit situation. This is not what he wanted to happen, as we will hear. He offers a lot of great insight here, but he says right out of the gate, the first fight is making weight. The second fight is in the octagon. They lost the first fight. This tarnishes everything thereafter, and it gives an unfair advantage to his client, to his athlete, Khamzat Chimaev. And that's important to note. And he's saying as much right now.
Believe me, I did everything in my power. And at the end of the day, you have to just like stop and think as well, and say, how much can I push? How much am I going to do? How much with it being safe? Seeing that it was just getting like, we took the first, we had like 7 kilos. What's that? I don't know what that is in pounds.
17 or so.
Yeah, something like that. 17
actually
pounds.
15 and a half.
We took the first 4 kilos quite easy. And then it's like, we're going to take the rest in the morning. So we had like about 2.5 kilos left. 3.
All right. So now here's number one, Coach. This is where they went wrong. This is where they went wrong. They're trying to cut 15 and a half pounds in the 12 hours, 16 hours before weigh-ins, because they cut 8 pounds at night. And Coach then says, we'll cut the rest in the morning. This is where they went wrong. They're trying to cut 15 and a half pounds, which is the equivalent of 2 gallons of water. Khamzat is not losing any body fat during this period of time. They are only dehydrating him, and likely doing it in the worst possible, most arduous and barbaric ways, simply through maybe lack of experience, lack of scientific education. I'm not trying to take shots here. I would never do this. I would never, ever, ever, ever do this without having adequately prepped the athlete going into it. Khamzat clearly was not adequately prepped, as we will learn as we go on.
3 kilos left, and we're going to take the rest in the morning. But then it's like some complications started happening during the night. So getting cramps, started throwing up. He started like being dizzy. He couldn't his body was seizing up.
He was dying. His body was dying. That's what's happening. You start cramping, you start seizing, you start vomiting, collapse, lethargy, hallucinations. Everything, all the systems are starting to shut down due to heat exhaustion and severe dehydration. That's exactly what's happening here. How terrible is this?
And we called the UFC, we called the physician, and we wanted the advice from him, because I'm not a doctor. I don't know like what's safe or not safe. And
well, that's scary. That's scary. If you're overseeing a weight cut and you don't know what is safe and what is not safe, well, that's a problem. That's a big problem. If you are not educated and versed in this while running a weight cut, now I don't know if it was Coach Andres, if it was Eric Triliegi, sorry, Eric. I don't know who was in the room, and I don't want to cast blame, but nobody competent seems to have been in the room to adequately manage Khamzat's health. So at 4 a.m. Friday morning, they're calling the UFC doctor. Now think about this. Shit was so bad that at 4 a.m., they're calling the UFC. They're waking up their point person. They're waking up the doctor. This is a serious emergency issue at 4 a.m. Everybody in that room is terrified. They are terrified. They're calling the UFC doctor at 4 a.m. Now, we know, experienced coaches know, when you call the UFC doctor, the weight cut's done. When you call the UFC doctor, the weight cut is done. The fight is most likely off at this point, and I agree with Coach Andres to call the doctor for the safety of the athlete. But at this point, when you make that phone call, you are conceding defeat. We fucked up so bad. This athlete is dying. We need medical assistance ASAP stat. At 4 o'clock in the morning, weight cut's done. The fight's probably off. We have to save this kid's life. That's what's happening right here. Now, we in the industry, we know when you make that phone call, that doctor is bound not just by their Hippocratic oath, but by the oversight and licensing committee that bonds their medical license. If the doctor walks in the room, says, okay, here's a severely dehydrated athlete. Their vitals are very weak. Their blood pressure is through the roof. They are partially coherent. They're vomiting. They're cramping. They're seizing. They're dizzy. They can't stand on their own. Go ahead, keep cutting weight. That doctor is going to lose their medical license. That doctor might be personally liable for criminal charges. Let's say Khamzat then dies during the weight cut. That doctor's in jail. Any doctor that walks in the room, number one, they're like, I got to protect my ass here. Weight cuts off. That's exactly what they do. So we know when you call the doctor, fight's off. Assume the fight is going to be off. The weight cut's definitely off. So I don't know if it's a lack of experience here of Andres or it's a little bit of political spin, which I get. I'm not mad at him for it, but that's what's happening here.
I always take the safe route with things. Like playing with people's lives here. It's not a joke, man. A fight you can fight like any other day, but like a lot of things can happen. A lot of things happen when you put your body under that, under those circumstances. And you don't have to name them, but there's like a lot of things: brain inflammation, like heart attacks, your blood gets thick, like a lot of stuff,
Bad stuff.
So like overheating, like, and it's just like your body's like going through something that
you're dying
is pressuring to its limits. And he's never missed weight any other time before that. So like, I don't know why everyone's like acting as if he's always missing weight. It's the first time. Yes, he has got a hard time making weight, and that's on him, because like he's a little bit like, he trains hard and he likes to eat to have energy.
Right. Yeah.
Trains harder than anyone, but that comes with a consequence. It comes with a consequence that you have to fuel the machine, and some people have a hard time getting the balls to get in the cage and do their best. Some people have a hard time training hard. Some people have a hard time like doing the simple things. He just has a hard time not eating because he's training, like his workload is so much.
It's a good point.
And that's how he wants it to be as well. That's how he wants it. That's how he feels. I have to stop him many times. I'm like, and tell him like, enough now, enough training. You know, I have to stop him.
Yeah.
But other than that, like.
And briefly, I will say it is much better to have an athlete you need to drag out of the gym than an athlete you have to drag into the gym, which is why Khamzat is so dominant. He's such an amazing athlete. Say what you will. Well, and we will certainly. I've been very vocal about the lack of professionalism, the lack of maturity, but you cannot discredit Khamzat or Coach Andreas Michael with regards to fighting ability. These athletes are fucking badass, right? So let's be fair here. Give it credit. Give credit where credit is due.
You know, like that's the main thing there. That this time it became harder and harder and harder for him. Like every time he cuts weight, so we thought of bringing in like a nutritionist. We thought about bringing this or bring out that just to help him out.
Call me. Call Jordy Sullivan. Call Tyler Minton. Call Dr. Mario or Dr. Capodaglia. Call the UFC PI. Call experienced, validated, credited professionals that have done this, not a couple times, but have done this for decades at the highest level. They know the ins and outs, not just, and here's an important part of this, ladies and gentlemen. This is what I call the appeal to authority. Because someone has an academic degree, because they have an acronym next to their name, because they've passed a test or achieved some sort of title, that does not mean they are still qualified to work in this industry. There is a whole subset of skills that will never show up on a test in order to excel with managing weight and health for combat athletes. This is a very niche profession, and there's only a handful of competent, qualified coaches who can get this done. And oddly, it has nothing to do with a PhD, an MD, a DO, an RD, a CS, a BS. It doesn't. It has something to do with that. But the experience level matters. Having the academic know-how is utterly important, but having the experience, knowing exactly what happens, knowing the UFC protocols, knowing who to call, knowing when to call, knowing what to do, knowing how to stage this, how to manage this, knowing the logistics behind such an important operation, working in the main event, knowing what the schedule is, knowing what the demands are. This matters. This matters. People do not understand what it is like to work with main event UFC athletes that have to be awake at 5 a.m. for a 5:15 lobby meet with the car downstairs that drives you 45 minutes. You're doing 8 hits on radio shows that takes you until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Then you have to get back to a media day. Somewhere in there, you have to get training in. You have to eat. You have to nap. You have to check. You still have to manage weight. A lot of teams, a lot of coaches, a lot of athletes have no idea how to manage this, which is why they do not teach this in RD school, in MD school. So it's the experience coupled with the academics that matters. So coach, you have to call someone. Man, like call me free of charge. Pick my brain. I don't want anything out of it. Pick my brain. Ask questions. I am happy. And I know there's other individuals who I've named before, Tony Ricci, Dr. Corey Peacock. There's other individuals out there with experience.
But the body just didn't really respond the way that it should respond. He started off like the camp started like suddenly.
Now, let me say something. I said this about Patty Pimblett. What did I say about Patty? Those of you go back in my videos and watch the videos. What did I say? I said, what happens? One day the athlete wakes up, they do everything they've always done, and it doesn't work because the body is so beaten, so destroyed, so damaged. They're now too far gone. Khamzat already, and we know he has endured horrific weight cuts. The weight cut against Gilbert Burns, I know for a fact, was horrific. Khamzat may never be able to make 170 safely again without a massive overhaul to his lifestyle because of the damage incurred during years of horrific weight cuts, starvation, deprivation, dehydration. What I'm hearing right now from Coach Andres is exactly that. His body's not responding the way his younger, fresher body once did, and it does not get better, Coach. It only gets worse.
And didn't have time to prepare before camp like he usually does. And of course, that's his main thing as well, that like, you know, like he'll fight anyone, anywhere, anyhow, like not anyhow, but you know, like he is like bare knuckled or knives and guns now. I'm not saying that. I'm saying like anywhere, anyone, you know. But what I'm saying is that, and when that thing, like, okay, I'm gonna fight now, he has to be always ready. It's difficult when you're like when you are a little, when he's a little bit like up in weight, because he's not that careful either to like stay in a reasonable weight.
That is a key point here that Coach is kind of just mentioning but driving past. Khamzat does not care enough to stay at a reasonable weight. He lets his weight expand far past 200 pounds. Just like Paddy Pimblett. He lets his weight get up too high, and Coach is saying he didn't have enough time to get his weight down. That's wrong, Coach. Khamzat Chimaev is a welterweight fighter in the UFC. He knows for a fact he will have another fight coming. And some of these fights at the top level, at the elite level, at the A level, they don't always come 12 weeks out, 10 weeks out, 8 weeks out. Sometimes the UFC says we need you in 6 weeks, in 4 weeks, in 2 weeks. The ability to fight any man, anywhere, anytime means a level of maturity and professionalism to keep your weight within range. All of our athletes, we have aspired to keep them in what we say 6-week shape. Every one of our athletes, we have enforced them being no heavier than 6 weeks out from perfectly peaked. And in many cases, that means they're only 3 weeks out. This is issue. Now, I've said years and years and years ago, I called it the 52 weight cut, 52-week weight cut. I've written blogs about it. I've mentioned it hundreds of times over the last 2 decades. The 52 weight cut means an athlete should be focused on their weight class 52 weeks out of the year. They should keep their body weight in range of their weight class 52 weeks out of the year. Look at LeBron James. Look at Kobe Bryant. Look at Tom Brady. Look at Wayne Gretzky. And I'm thinking that the great athletes of my general era. These are the athletes that have the longest reigning, most dominant careers. And these are the athletes known for 52-week work ethic. Khamzat needs to mature a little bit, and I think Coach would agree with me on this. And everything I'm saying, I think Coach Andreas Michael's going to agree with everything I say.
On reasonable weight before his camps. So he just like trains hard, eats hard, you know? So, and then like he's strong and big.
Work hard, party hard.
And that has consequences. You need time.
Agreed.
You need time to get down to the reasonable weight before you start your camp. Like, and we had like Diaz came like in the end of August. We said, can we move it a little bit, please? Because it's a legacy fight, that one. Can we move it, please? Of course, we would love that fight. And that would be an amazing fight. And we want that fight. And they moved it like, I think like 1.5 weeks after that. 2 weeks after that. And we had like 5 or 6 weeks of preparation to get into camp. When we heard about it, I think 6 weeks, 6. And he was already like about 93 kilos, 94 kilos, somewhere there, starting his camp. So we were just like, I was thinking like this, should I sacrifice, make the camp all about his weight? Or should I make the camp?
That means Khamzat Chimaev, at 94 kilos was 207 pounds. He was 37 pounds above his weight class. There is no excuse for that. What we are seeing is a lack of maturity in the athlete, a lack of professionalism in the athlete, which led to this weight cut disaster. Full stop. An athlete who lets himself get that big is going to have a horrendous weight cut. And now I knew this fight was happening. I knew this fight was close to being done in the spring. I knew that. Coach knew that. Khamzat knew that. Team Diaz knew that. I knew this fight was being negotiated since spring, late spring, early summer. We all knew this fight was going to happen. We knew this was the only fight the UFC was giving Nate Diaz. We knew this fight was going to be signed. Khamzat knew it and did not proactively get his weight in check. He could have lost 5 pounds in June, 5 pounds in July, 5 pounds in August, and gone from 207 to 202 to 97 to 92, which would have put him at a very reasonable weight now in order to drop the rest of the weight over 3 weeks. And it's funny because 3 Weeks to Shredded, our #1 best-selling book, by the way, simple plug right here, 3 Weeks to Shredded was written and designed to lose 21 pounds in 21 days, and it was based upon a welterweight template. Coach just needed to go online and buy 3 Weeks to Shredded off of Amazon.com, and Khamzat likely would have cruised into the finish line, no problem. 3 Weeks to Shredded initially was designed, went off of one of my own weight cuts. I lost 42.8 pounds in 6 weeks. So I actually, as a smaller athlete, lost more weight, 10 pounds more. I was 212, and I went all the way down to 170 in 6 weeks' time. 3 Weeks to Shredded originally was focused on my 42.8 pound weight loss and then the final acute 21 pound weight cut at the very end. I just say that because the science is out there, the information is out there, the reference material is out there. It's all out there. But it is the lack of compliance that is a bit of an issue. And I feel bad for Coach Andreas Michael at this point.
Him training good to win. Because a lot of people make this mistake that they train only to lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
And it's disastrous in LA. They're just like zombies, doing it just enough, and then going home, and not feeling good and all this, and their training looks like shit. Of course, we're training and we got down to a decent weight. I'm not saying that, but it wasn't only about his weight, the training, and it never will be only about his weight. The training will be
the weight is managed in the off season, Coach. The weight should never be managed in training camp. This is what most athletes, most teams, most coaches do not understand. The weight must be managed in the off season so the athlete can adequately perform in camp. Otherwise, you're simply running a fat camp. You are not running a fight camp. If nothing else, please, Coach, take that from this opinion piece I'm offering to you. The weight is managed in the off season, not in the in season. Set weight caps for your athletes that they cannot go over. Weigh your athlete in every Monday and Friday in practice. Set a cap. If the athlete does not fulfill, if the athlete busts their weight cap, remove their fun training. No sparring for you, fat boy. No sparring for you. No pads for you. No whatever for you. You're on the Airdyne. You're on the treadmill. You're on the assault bike. You're on the rowing machine. You're doing hill sprints. You're shadow boxing for the next 45 minutes while everybody goes out there and gets to spar. This is what you do as a head coach, as a top coach. This is how you gain the respect of your athlete because you drew a line in the sand and you are holding their nose to it. This is how you do it. If the athlete busts their weight cap, remove their fun training and replace it with their arduous, inane, boring training so they get the point. If you are a welterweight athlete, you should not be above 192, 194. An athlete like Khamzat that busts that and gets over 200, 207, you had said, which means he easily gets up over 210 when he's a little sloppier. That's it. Move him up to middleweight then. But in this case, coach, strong suggestion. Weigh your athletes in on Monday and Friday. And they have to register it. They have to register it. Do not let them get over their weight cap, and then they will normalize. They will normalize their walk-around weight, their off-season weight, and their lifestyle will follow to facilitate this. They will look better. They will feel better. They will recover better. They will sleep better. They will perform better. And now you're extending their careers. They will no longer have to cut so much weight, ending their career abruptly. Just some experience share for you here, Coach.
About him winning. And he has worked before, but this time it was a little bit heavier than usual when he came into camp. Yeah, I don't know. I lost you there, or do you get what I'm saying?
It makes perfect sense. Yeah.
And it was a little bit heavier than usual. And I don't train people just to make weight. I train people to win.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he's worked for 23 years. You know, so this time, like, we got him down to a decent weight. He only had like about like 8 pounds. 8 pounds. I actually had like 6 pounds. 6 pounds like to lose. But then we drank because he needed to rehydrate a little bit before we weighed in with the physician's recommendation. Remember that. This is the doctor recommended this. I will not go against the doctor. I don't care what all these people say. Like, I was there. I know what's happening. And if anyone doesn't believe me, I don't give a f. You understand? Not trying to convince anyone. That's how it was, and that's how it is.
I believe you. Your athlete was dying. I would assume the doctor. I'm wondering if they gave you IV. They would probably give Khamzat at least one bag, 1,000 milliliters of an electrolyte solution. I would be shocked in that state that he did not get an IV solution, that they would have him orally rehydrate. When you are vomiting, oral rehydration becomes almost impossible. So I would wonder, Brett Okamoto, Ariel Hawani, Luke Thomas, all the MMA journalists and media, has anybody asked if he received an IV? An IV would be the most likely, most appropriate medical protocol in such a case. I would actually be worried if it was so bad that he did not get an IV. You would have to get a USADA TUE, a therapeutic use exemption, to get the IV, but it's under a UFC doctor's medical purview to prescribe that. So that likely would meet the barrier for USADA. I would be shocked if Khamzat did not have an IV.
Like, and I'm not trying to hide it. Of course, I would have I would have done. We fell into depression when we didn't fight like Diaz. That was a legacy fight. You think that I didn't do everything in my power to make him like fight Diaz that night. I think I didn't want him that was like a perfect fight for him. And you saw how it was. Like, would have been probably around. If the whole world agrees on that. Like, he dodged the bullet, yeah? Or
not so much. Khamzat would not have been able to ragdoll Nate Diaz on the ground the way he did to Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland and Nate Diaz are relatively a similar sized body. Khamzat would have been able to take Nate Diaz down maybe as easily. Nate Diaz would not have opened himself up to such an amateur mistake Kevin Holland made, rushing into an athlete like Khamzat. Nate Diaz knows how to tread into the water. So I don't know that Khamzat would have had a similar 1 minute less takedown, a 2-minute finish. He probably would have gotten Nate Diaz down within the first 2 minutes of the fight. Of course, Khamzat is an amazing wrestler, very violent, very aggressive. Yes. Once on the ground, though, he would not have been able to submit Nate Diaz in the manner that he did. He likely would have had to ground and pound Nate Diaz and cut him up. And I think the whole world agrees on that. We all agree. And I had said the first 7 minutes of the fight, Khamzat Chimaev heavily favored. If this fight goes past 7 minutes, now every minute thereafter, the scale starts tipping towards Nate Diaz. Once we get into the third round, the middle of the third round, now Nate Diaz then becomes the favorite. So this was a 7-minute over-under, from my opinion, for Khamzat. So I don't necessarily agree, but this is, I'm splitting hairs here, to be fair.
What do you think after you saw Diaz match?
I think everybody agrees with you. Yeah.
Exactly. You understand? So
not everybody.
It was just that when I see a person like struggling like that, I have no problem with that. Like, you struggle, okay, the weight cut is, but when the body starts cramping, you start throwing up, you start getting dizzy, you start like fainting and all this stuff, then that's not normal, right? That's not normal. That's not normal, my friend. Like, that's the body's like shutting down, you know? And then we have another like 3 kilos to cut as well after that.
He would have killed him.
Like, would you dare do anything? Would you dare push him to make weight?
Absolutely not. No. Well, I guess my question to you, because I'm sitting here listening to it, and it's like, because of the circumstances and because of how heavy he was when he started the camp, you wanted this fight, so you said yes to the fight, but it had to be kind of perfect, almost, it seems like. It had to be a perfect blend of, like, we need to prepare, but we also need to make this weight. Is there anything he could have done? Was there a lack of discipline on his part that you could have done it? You could have had everything. You could have made weight. You could have still trained for the fight had he just been a little more disciplined here and there. Or what? Looking back on it, was it just kind of an impossible scenario?
Look, I'm not going to lie to you. Of course, like, he needs to be more disciplined with his food. It's like, that's his Achilles heel. Like, everyone has a weakness, don't they? Like, some people don't like training hard. Some people don't like to spar. Some people don't only like to drill. Some people only like to be like pad whores, you know, like hitting the pads only, like, and feeling good about that. Oh, I'm like the best at pads, you know, like, and some people like to like only do cardio. Some people, you know, like, everyone has like a weakness, and his weakness is that he trains hard, and to train hard, you need to eat. And rest, you know.
Well, partially true. To train hard, you need to eat appropriately. You do not need to overeat and allow your body weight to blow up 37 pounds above your weight class limit. Coach, to be fair here, you must hold him more accountable. You're giving him a little bit of a way out here. I do not agree with this line of speaking.
No, and his problem is that he needs to rest a little bit more, and he needs to eat a little bit less. But like, he with that workload, it's difficult to eat less.
False.
Because he's a competitive like guy, and he wants to win in his training. He wants to do good in his training. He wants to break records. He wants to go like beat the times that he had before. He wants to like win in sparrings. Like, you heard the stories you've been here, how we train, you know, like. And you've seen, you know, it's not for the faint of hearted, as they say. And with that, he needs energy, because he doesn't like to lose, and he eats. That's like that's
he overeats.
That's why we bought somebody that could like cook the food, make it, serve it to him. But in all honesty, you need a good amount of food to be delivering in the sessions.
Yeah.
And the guys were trying, but the first way they came, they minimized his food and everything, and it went, and the training wasn't that good. So he said, like, I need more food. I need more food to produce like a good performance in training. And
Well, just very briefly, I'm not going to get too deep in the science. This video is already longer than I expected, but there is a way to strategically introduce certain foods at certain times to maximize the 60 to 90 minute training window and still not fall into a total caloric surplus. So nutrient timing matters as much. And in this acute weight loss situation, nutrient timing matters even more than total caloric surplus. If you understand nutrient timing, coach, if your weight management, your nutritionist understands nutrient timing, you can deliver a very specific selection of nutrients at a very specific time prior to and during training that can maximize the entire glycolytic aspect of your training while not spilling over to gain additional weight. This is something that is well, it's easy to do for highly experienced professionals. You will not find a lot of academics who understand this simply because they spent more time in the lab or in the classroom than they have inside the training rooms. You need to find a coach that has done both at the elite level with a pristine track record. There's a handful of us out here. So the point you're making, I understand what you're saying, but it's wrong factually. It can be done. And at the highest level, this is the way it's done. It is not done, eat a caloric surplus. And I simply say, look at the amazing champions out there. Look at the Kamaru Usmans. Look at the George St. Pierres. Look at the Anderson Silvas. Look at the Habib Nurmagomedovs, who's busted weight multiple times, but he's a big athlete for his weight class, and he dominated while following severe caloric deficiencies. So eating in this massive caloric surplus, this is wrong. Nutrient timing in the acute weight loss phase is much more impactful than a simple global or a total caloric surplus.
Of course, like in 6 weeks, you can get somebody down to like whatever weight they want.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but at the same time, it's like, are they going to win?
Mm-hmm.
So we have to like do we have to balance it out like as good as possible. I'm not saying that I didn't take like in consideration his weight. Of course I did. Like his weight was like where it was all the time, like where every time we cut weight is where it's there where it should be the day before, and it was this time as well. But the difference is this time he started his camp at the higher weight class than before. You know, so if we had like, let's say we had like 10 pounds to cut, or what do you say? I said 17 pounds. So I think that it was about 15 pounds we had. 15 pounds we had. We had like about 15 pounds to cut the day before, which is, some people it's a lot, some people it's not, you know?
That's a lot.
Like, I don't know, like what is a lot, what isn't, it's different for different people, you know?
No, that's a
like,
lot.
For example, like I had the guy that he was like he can't even take like.
That is 2 gallons. 2 gallons of water in the last day before. He has to squeeze out 2 gallons of water through dehydration while likely already dehydrated from water pyramiding, while likely already at a severe electrolyte deficiency from nutrient deprivation. He's already in an extremely unhealthy state as they start squeezing out the water through heat exhaustion. Remember, they're losing weight by cooking, Khamzat. So not only are you dealing with dehydration, you then amplify dehydration with heat exhaustion. Heat exhaustion by itself is debilitating. Heat exhaustion added to dehydration, added to electrolyte deficiency, you are talking about possible death. This is where an individual goes into severe cardiac arrest. And there are many cases of this. So they've cultivated the perfect storm of death for this athlete, which is why at 4 a.m., while still 6 pounds over, which is 1.5 gallons almost of water left to go, he's cramping up. Tough one.
5 pounds before. Then I have guys that like they can take like a shitload before the weigh-ins.
Yeah.
You know, like, so it's different. Like it's about what you and your body can handle, you know?
Yeah.
And he had about like 14 to 15 pounds somewhere there to cut before the fight, and before the weight or the weigh-ins the night before.
Wow.
And it was just like we always have. We've always done it. And I would have liked to have like about 10 pounds. Is like,
see that? He just said what I had said earlier in relation to Paddy Pimblett. He had said previously his weight was exactly where it's always been. He said here his weight was exactly what it's always been. But this time was different. This shows Khamzat is already on the backside of his health. He will not get that back unless now he moves up to middleweight.
like for me, it's like 10 pounds before the weight is reasonable, I think. But you know, for him, it's like that was reasonable, like usually. And what happened was like his body just couldn't like go down anymore. Just started closing down.
Can you fill in some of the blanks? So like I texted you the night of Thursday and you had said you were going to start around 11:30. Majdi told me you guys didn't end up starting maybe until a little bit later than that. Can you kind of just walk me through the night? Like you guys went to the PI to cut this sweat, right?
No.
You didn't go to the PI. Okay, where'd you
we didn't go to the PI. Well, we never go to the PI. Because there's too many people there. There's a lot of fighters. They're like the weight cutting is private.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so everyone likes to do it in their own way, and I think that he doesn't want to like do it in front of everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and he had the massage. Then he started his weight cut with a sweatsuit. Was running like for about an hour and a half. Then he bicycled. Then he lost like he had 7 kilos, 6.5, 7 kilos. Some of the 6.5 kilos he had, like somewhere they had 6.5 kilos. He lost 4 of them.
So guys, he got a massage, which is a traumatic experience, which causes dehydration, which damages the muscle tissue to a degree. Even a soft tissue or a Swedish massage, you start moving the fluids around the body. He then put on plastics and ran for an hour while severely dehydrated and calorically deprived. He then started riding the exercise bike, likely because he couldn't stand and run anymore. So this is what happens. Then they put him on a bike where he has to keep moving and pedaling. This is horrific. This is already one of the worst weight cuts I've ever heard of in my life. Now all they have to do is they have to put him into a sauna in his plastic suits, and this might become the worst weight cut in the history of MMA.
And he had like 2 kilos left, 2.5 to 2 kilos left. And I said to him, like, we'll take it tomorrow. It's like, you're tired now, let's take it tomorrow. We'll do like a warm bath in the morning. And that's about it, you know? Like 2.5 kilos, 2 kilos is not that bad. Like, we've done it before. So we just wake up 6 o'clock in the morning, and we have and we'll be first at the apex and take the weigh in, and then we're done. All right.
Terrible. The athlete is going to bed 6 pounds over, and the assumption that he will wake up and then be able to lose 6 pounds in enough time to get on the scale safely, this doesn't happen because stress spikes, cortisol spikes, all of these stress hormones spike. When you sleep, your body's core temperature drops to the lowest point it will ever be. While you are sleeping, your core temperature drops. It makes it that much harder to slowly heat your body up enough to start sweating, especially when you are in a dehydrated state, which is then further impacted through lack of water intake, lack of electrolyte intake, lack of food intake. So this decision right here is it's a bad call, and I think Coach probably regrets it.
in the middle of the night, they come to my room and they wake me up, like, because I got like, I had Guram there and one of his friends observing him like all night, like the night of the wake cut. Like, I never leave anyone alone because you never know what's going to happen like during the nighttime, and you never know like the temptation of cheating as well.
Yeah.
Once I had the guy like weigh in like 4 pounds over, he wakes up, he's like 6 pounds over. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Charles.
Yeah.
So, you know, so he goes, oh, I woke up and I didn't even know what I was doing. I started drinking water. Then I was like, oh shit, I'm cutting weight.
Yeah.
So, but what happened was that we had some two guys there like observing him, and they came in the middle of the night and said to me like, it's not looking good. Like he's cramping, his body's cramping, he's shaking, he's throwing up. He's like when he stands up, he's like he's just not well. He said
No.
he's not well. So
This is
I went
heartbreaking.
there, I saw what was happening. I gave it a little bit of time, and I'm thinking to myself, my God, I'm gonna have to put him in a hot bath now. And this is not. It's dangerous.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
This is dangerous, like, and I don't want that to be on my head.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Care about this guy.
Good.
I cannot like, and even if I don't care, I'm not like, if I don't know the person, I don't care. Of course I care. But what I'm saying is like, if I don't know the person, it's my responsibility as coach for their safety,
Yes.
health and safety, you know? So I can't like take a risk of somebody like getting injured, like for what? For what? I'm like, for what? Right? Like, for a fight. You know, you gotta like look at things and like and step back and think a little bit. Like, of course, this fight for me personally, I'm just talking personally for me, was like a legacy fight. If we fought this fight, jaws would have dropped. He would have just run right straight through him. And I'm like, I'm not talking ifs and maybes. We all saw what we saw like on Saturday. And I think the whole world agrees on what I'm saying. You know? The whole world. So that's what that would have been that's what we're working for, and that's what we was motivated to do. And it was tough that I had to make this decision, and it was tough on all of us. And when the physician came, he goes to me, he said, like, this is what he actually said. Tell Nate that I give him all my purse if he just takes the fight at a little bit higher weight class. Just tell Nate, like, I'll donate my purse to him. Donate, like, I'll give him my purse. Like, if like that's what he told the UFC. Like, and I said to him, "Are you sure you want to fight? Like, you make the choice. I'm behind you. You know, yes, but I want to stay in this weight, on this weight that I'm at now." He said, "I just want to like, I'm not gonna drink anything." I already gave him like a couple of glasses or 2 glasses of water. You know, like, I'm gonna stay like in this weight. He said to me, and the physicians always take the safe route. They were saying like, "You want to fight?" And he said, "Absolutely, I want to fight. I'm gonna fight." They said, "I'm gonna fight, but just tell Nate, please. I'll give him my whole purse if he fights like if he fights like a little bit heavier."
Mm-hmm.
And we know the answer. He said, of course, I understand, Nate. I wouldn't have done, you know, of course. Like, the guy has suffered as well, like, to go down in weight. No disrespect to him. All respect to Nate. Like, he did his job. He's a professional. Like, we were the ones that were like out of order, you know, and with whatever the excuse is, that's on us, isn't it? He doesn't have to like care about that,
because it was you, right? He was
Yeah, it
making
was
it
me.
like it was doctors, but you was you.
Let me just briefly stop right there and point out Khamzat probably did offer his full purse for Nate to fight him. Nate Diaz was making over $10 million for this fight. You think Nate Diaz wants Khamzat's 50, 80, $100,000? No. Nate Diaz was already making 8 figures for this fight. A couple $100,000 from Khamzat means nothing to Nathan Diaz. Nathan Diaz thinks he should be fighting for 30, 40, $50 million. So the gesture that it was of Khamzat, that does nothing to Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz went back to the UFC saying, you want me to fight Tony? You got to pay me a couple million more. Now, he didn't quite get that, but he got more than Khamzat's purse was. You can take that to the bank.
It was about like 6 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
About that. I'm not like, I don't know exactly what precisely what the time was, but it was around that time.
And he had been
like maybe like 5 or 6 in the morning or something like that.
And you guys have been cutting that circa, like at the hotel that you were at?
New York, yeah.
Or you were at the New York at that point?
Yeah. And he had like a jacuzzi in his room. He had like a hot bath. Like, so it wasn't like as if like we were missing anything. Yeah. I made sure that they opened the gym for privately. I called the hotel manager, and he like opened the gym for us. So we had like a sauna, we had like the treadmills, we had everything. Mm-hmm. Like he opened it at it was like 11:30, 12, somewhere there. He opened it for us. Okay. So we had we had like so I don't want to hear like, oh, they didn't have the right equipment, that. People are getting excuses out of their ass. There is no excuse. We did everything perfect, and his body just couldn't make the weight. Yeah. That's just it. There's no like, oh, who was wrong and who did wrong. Like, we all were wrong. Shall I satisfy one? Okay, I was wrong. Okay, does everyone make the people feel better now? So like.
Congratulations to the coach for taking full accountability. In the aftermath of the fight, Coach Andreas Michael did not take accountability. He said a lot of really mean, nasty things about individuals inside the industry for calling them out on making the mistake. And today in this interview on ESPN with Brett Okamoto, he says, I was wrong. We were all wrong. And he finally took full responsibility with some time to reflect. Much respect to Coach Andreas Michael here, ladies and gentlemen. This is a massive learning experience, I believe, for him, for Khamzat, for his team. This is a good thing. This is a good thing. Let's finish up.
It's just we did everything like according to plan, like we always do. And he just like his body, like when you put yourself body under these type of circumstances, you ain't got a lot of times we can do this stuff. When your body's going to be like okay with it. Yep. And my English was terrible there. What I'm saying is like that after a certain amount of times of putting your body under such conditions, your body, if anything is out of line, you started at a heavier weight than we had before, you're drinking water, you're cheating with your food, anything, it retaliates against you.
Sure.
It retaliates. The body knows what's coming, mm-hmm. And it's going, stop. I need to go into survival mode.
Yeah.
And that's what it does. And, like I've had Alex, Alex Andreas and the biggest light heavyweights in the UFC mm-hmm. history, and he never missed weight before. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, he was heavy. Mm-hmm. Like he was a heavy boy. Like off season, you'll be like maybe like 150.
If you guys follow the Weight Cut War Story series, I'm now running every Friday on this channel. I will talk about one of Alexander Gustafsson's weight cuts I personally saw with my own eyes when he fought John Jones in Toronto, Canada for the UFC light heavyweight world title. This was one of the worst weight cuts I had ever seen. I don't know if Coach Andreas Michael was there, but I believe that he was because I believe this has been Alex's team. I saw one of the most horrific weight cuts I've ever seen. And I will detail exactly what I saw. Exactly what I saw on this night, which I believe, and I've said this years ago, I believe this weight cut is what cost Alexander Gustafsson the UFC world title, where he lost a very close decision to John Jones. If it was not for this barbaric weight cut, I believe Alex would have won that fight. I saw it with my own eyes. I was right there inside the hotel room while they were cutting weight. I was right there in the gym, in the hotel gym. I saw it all. And it was, I had to leave. And there was other UFC executives in the room also. We just happened to be working out at the time, separately, but in the same room. We all left because it was horrible. It was like a public execution, a public torture is what we witnessed. Now, I will explain this. I'll do it this Friday because I'm still waiting for the Anthony Johnson. Go back, weight cut war stories on Fridays. I will do the Alexander Gustafsson one.
15 kilos, 115 kilos off season, like in his prime as well. 115 kilos and you go down to 93. So it's not about that, but like, I'm just giving an example of that. But when I say that he's very strict with everything. He goes home, he lives like on his diet plan he's like a nun when it comes to like dieting and things like that, because he has to, you know. You get yourself out in that state, you better get yourself back into state, you know. And Joe Rogan asked a question about what if it was a title fight. It wasn't a title fight. And a title fight, we're not going to take in such a short notice. And a title fight would make sure like that it would have enough time. Would make sure that we have enough time before we accept the title fight. Like, you know, like, Coach, we're not going to take a title fight like in 6 weeks.
I disagree here because this was a title fight eliminator. We all knew if Khamzat won this fight versus Nate Diaz, he would be fighting for the UFC welterweight title next. We all knew that. This was a 5-round UFC main event title fight eliminator, and you guys missed weight by 7.5 pounds. You cannot now say in retrospect, oh, if this was for the title, we would have made weight for sure. This was a title eliminator.
Notice, 7 weeks notice, you know, that's not good enough. If we know that that we have a problem with the weight, then if it was a title fight, then but this was just. Then you say, why did you take this fight? Like, they're going to say, everyone's going to say now, why did you take this so you didn't make sure? Well, he wanted to fight. He wanted to fight Nate. And Nate's not going to wait for us. You know, that's the difference. A title fight will wait. But Nate's is his last fight. And we had both our feet in one shoe there. We had to take this fight to make it happen. You know, so if you want to fight Nate, you better fight him when they tell you to fight him. You know, a title fight, we can always push it a little bit further up because the champ is a champ. He's not going to stop. He's not going to go. He hasn't got one fight in him, and he's going to. Whoever holds the title will fight him. Yeah. You know, but this was once in a lifetime chance, and the UFC had told us guys, he's not gonna. You better take the fight.
He had just said this was a once in a lifetime chance. And they came in 7.5 pounds over, which makes me really suspicious of the entire situation. But I think this was a great interview with Coach Andreas Michael here. I'm going to stop it here. We're already knocking on an hour. I didn't know I was going to go this long. I really hope you guys appreciate this type of opinion that I'm adding. This is just my experienced opinion here. But of course, I'm very experienced with regards to weight cutting, as you guys all know. I think Coach Andreas Michael deserves a lot of credit. credit and a lot of respect for coming on, for facing the media, for answering the tough questions, for being honest, for protecting his athlete. I understand that, standing up for his athlete, but also telling the truth. And I think there's a lot of information here that Coach Andreas Michael is now disseminating and sorting through. And I think he's going to come back and really crack the whip on his camp. What do you guys think? I want to hear who's to blame. Do we blame Khamzat? Do we blame Coach Andreas Michael? Do we blame the nutritionist chef, Eric Triliegi? Do we blame the team? Do we blame the UFC? Do we blame Nate Diaz? Who is to blame? And does Khamzat come back at welterweight or middleweight? I appreciate you guys for being here. Definitely check out the other links, check out the videos, check out the weight cut war stories. I want to hear what you guys think about that. On Friday, I will talk about Alexander Gustafsson's horrific weight cut debacle I witnessed when he fought John Jones. I believe this is why Alex lost that fight versus John Jones. It was such a close fight. I believe the weight cut is what led to him losing by the slimmest of margins. Thank you guys once again for being here. Coach Andreas Michael, brother, give me a call, man. Ask me any questions completely off the record, 100% confidential. I'll never speak about it if you don't want to. Of course, my name, my integrity is high. If anyone says don't mention this, it will never be mentioned. You can imagine the conversations I've had that nobody ever will know about. So anyway, until next time, boom.